Zack Snyder is a madman. I love this movie. It's not perfect. It's not a masterpiece. It's not even that great of a film, but that doesn't stop me from loving it. You all know what happened to the Justice League film. I'm not even going to talk about it. Search up what happened if you need to, but all I know is that the theatrical version of the film is terrible. And what we got now is miles better. But of course, it's better. But what about the Snyder Cut as a film? Well, here's my take on it. The film begins with the death of Superman, and his final screams are the sort of alarm to the rest of the universe that Earth is now prone to attack. The slow motion here is used to great effect, as the scene feels dramatic and impactful to the overall narrative. But here's the thing about Zack Snyder's filmmaking. The slow motion is heavily overused. This can be used very well if you want to see things from, let's say, Flash's perspective, because he's really fast. Each shot has a meaning and purpose. They're beautifully framed and it almost feels like a painting, a grand gesture of sorts. Even the colors are gorgeous. Now I know having a dark color palette for such bright and hopeful heroes isn't great, but it's Snyder's style and so I can appreciate that. He uses shadows and deep black values to add a feeling of intensity to the storytelling. The camera is an active character in and of itself that shows us the journey of these characters. Bruce's recruitment process actually makes it feel like the team is slowly coming together. It's a patient process and that's done effectively due to This beast is 4 hours long. Talk about balls on a filmmaker. Zack Snyder just made a 240-minute Justice League movie. Can you appreciate how ambitious that is? In a world where everyone has short attention spans, this guy just made a 4-hour superhero film that doesn't completely suck. And you know what? Everyone's watching it and talking about it. I don't love Snyder's films, but I love the man himself. Justice League uses its lengthy runtime to its advantage by fleshing out some characters and some more, moments of human interaction, which I just love.
My quick review on the Snyder Cut. So I've been talking a lot about the Snyder Cut down in my channel a lot just because I'm a big Zack Snyder fan. I think the movie is a cinematic masterpiece, and I know it's too much to say, but I think it is the greatest comic book film of all time. I'm a big fan of BVS. BVS in particular was my favorite comic book movie, but this movie completely changed that outcome. I think this movie is about unity. I think this film is about, not being broke, now finally feeling free and feeling like you're being together. Every one of these characters is a flawed individual. Every one of them has a terrible past. I mean, Superman, obviously, he had his entire planet destroyed. Batman, his parents died. Diana had to leave the mascara. Cyborg, obviously, his parents die within the movie. And then you have Flash, whose dad is obviously in jail after the murder of his mother. And you have Aquaman, who has all this pressure to be the next king of Atlantis. And this film, to me, is just a very beautiful, poetic film, and it's a very emotional ride. It's a roller coaster. There are scenes that make you sad. There are scenes that make you happy. There are scenes in this film that do so much to you as the audience member. To me, this film just completely broke me at points, and not in a bad way, but in a very positive way. There are moments in this film where I'm just crying and emotional. There are moments where I'm just celebrating and happy. In particular, one of the very first action scenes, which is when Steppenwolf is fighting the League for the first time. I remember just yelling in joy. That third act, to me, is just beautiful in a comic book stance. And I also like seeing them have their combo moves at the end. To me, is how these big team-up movies should be. I want to see the Avengers team up together the same way I want to see the Justice League team up together. I want to see their combo moves, and I thought that was cool.
Cyborg. We get to explore Cyborg's backstory as a great football player and a boy with a kind heart and an absent father. After an accident, his mother dies, and his father attempts to resurrect him by using one of the mother boxes, the MacGuffin that Steppenwolf, the antagonist, is looking for. And thus, Cyborg is born. But I love that he's given real depth and insecurity. He feels human, he struggles with his identity, and he's mad at his father for making him a monster. But on fighting with the League, he realizes that he's not alone and learns to become human again. He's the heart of the film, and Ray Fisher's performance is absolutely brilliant. His arc wasn't that well executed in my opinion, but it did make me elicit an emotional reaction, which is, good enough.
I love how it's centered around Cyborg. I'm a big fan of Henry and Ben as Batman and Superman, but somehow in this film, Cyborg and the Flash stand out to me the most.
Aquaman is introduced to us as a man who helps villagers by supplying them fish for their survival. He's kind but, doesn't really show it. We know that he despises his people, the Atlanteans, and wishes to run away from them. He seems like a jerk and emotionally detached from other people. But he cares. To be honest, I'm not going to give credit, just for the sake of it. As much as I love Jason Momoa's performance, his character wasn't, that great. He seemed the same throughout, only maybe a little bit more open, It wasn't very well defined. They had 4 hours and they could have fleshed him out even more. I didn't love it, but it wasn't that bad. Flash. Again, we see Barry Allen as a man who's late, which is funny because he's the fastest man alive, has this attraction to Iris West, who he just met. His dad is in jail, and that he's really quirky. As much fun as he isn't that well defined of a character for me. He learns to be the best of the best or something like that, but it didn't feel earned. Thankfully, a lot of his jokes, were removed from the theatrical cut, so that was, bearable. But yeah, Diana and Bruce are trying to get the team together. Diana believes in this cause because she knows fighting in unity will make them stronger. Bruce is assembling the team so that he can feel human again and right his wrongs for doubting Superman leading to his death. This is good. They have their own beliefs and insecurities because of which the Justice League is formed. Speaking of the antagonist of the film, I know he looks, way better and scarier and terrifying than the previous version. But Steppenwolf, he's a pretty average villain. I like how, we get some backstory regarding him betraying Darkseid in the past and that he's terrified of him. But all these big grey CG creatures speak in such a generic and wooden way that it gets so lame at one point. Hearing lines such as, "This world will fall," is so plain and overused that it doesn't feel threatening at all. I like this design. I like how brutally, he was killed, but he was meh. No beliefs or principles that challenged our heroes on a philosophical level. Thanos had his own morals and beliefs that made him feel real. That's why he works. This does not. Even Darkseid is terrifying, but if he's just that's just disappointing.
Steppenwolf was the biggest upgrade in this film. I remember I hated 2017 Steppenwolf because he was boring and generic. In this film, he has a motivation, the motivation to please Darkseid, the motivation to show Darkseid who he truly is and what he can truly become. He wants to be accepted by Apocalypse again, and he's this ruthless warrior who will kill people at whatever cost it means. And I think this film massively improves with Steppenwolf.
Also, is it just me or Steppenwolf's face looks like someone stole his lollipop? Oh, don't cry. The action is good, but not great. The scene where evil Superman fights the League, the action choreography is just mediocre. They don't even use their powers effectively. Let's say in Avengers Infinity War, the battle on Titan is great as every superhero used their abilities to their advantage to fight Thanos. Both teams have a goal. In Justice League, their goal is to stop Superman, as plain as that sounds, and in Infinity War, the Avengers have to stop Thanos and take the gauntlet from him. Both teams go about it their own way, and it's done extremely well in the Avengers, whereas in this film, Wonder Woman is just held by soups, Aquaman just stands there with his trident, and Cyborg like pushes him. What are you trying to feel his spec? It's very average and plain. The final battle is pretty cool though. Batman uses a gun against parademons, but I don't even care anymore, dude. This dude just kills and, screw it.
Cyborg and the Flash, I think they're all great in this film, and I think that's what makes this film very beautiful and poetic. This movie to me is a cinematic masterpiece.
Some of my favorite scenes are the quiet and tender human moments. For example, Martha and Lois meet up talking about how much they loved Clark, Diana and Alfred in the Batcave, and Clark and Lois reconnecting in Smallville are some of the most beautiful scenes as they make these characters feel more human and three-dimensional people who have relationships and bonds. When the team comes together, it really feels like an assembling. Cyborg's father, Silas Stone's sacrifice made me feel nothing. He dies in a couple seconds instantly, and the film just continues with the plot. There was no emotion resonance to it, and it did not feel earned to me. The final battle is just a big, dark CGI fest of explosions and slow motion, so it can feel mostly bland, but for some reason I was engaged. Maybe because I was seeing how many new shots were there compared to the theatrical version of the film. The part where all the heroes are together in a still frame was absolutely great. It reminded me of the scene in the Avengers when all the members assembled. It was like a painting, and I loved it. Superman returning was also a lot of fun. He gets to kick some ass and his punches feel really powerful. But one of the highlights was when the villain actually wins and destroys the whole world because Barry got injured, and so he runs faster than the speed of light and reverses time and generates enough electricity to help Cyborg break the unity of the mother boxes. The music, the special effects, the lighting, the slow motion, the cinematography were all absolutely gorgeous and it gave me goosebumps. They finally defeat Steppenwolf and freaking behead him in front of Darkseid, and then his head is crushed. Speaking of heads getting crushed, this film is R-rated. To me, the cussing and gore was unnecessary. This film could have been as engaging without those things. When the parademons are brutally slaughtered by the heroes, it makes them feel like cold-blooded murderers, which was weird because, the heroes. It just felt like it was done to look more edgy and, could have been avoided. The League wins, and there's a final shot of our hero standing victorious, which was, beautiful. But then there's a near half-hour epilogue. We see Batman's nightmare version in the post-apocalyptic future with Cyborg, Mera, Deathstroke, and of course, Jared Leto's Joker. We find out that Aquaman and Wonder Woman had been killed, and Joker reveals that Bruce had an adopted son that was killed. So, that finally somewhat connects to the dream sequences in Batman v Superman. Then we figure out that Superman is the main antagonist of this dark future, and turns out it's a nightmare of Bruce. Then he meets a Martian Manhunter, and the end. Zack Snyder's Justice League is a huge moment in cinema. It is a piece of art in my opinion. Not great, but its large-scale ambition is admirable. I love that Snyder's fans made their voices heard, and I'm thankful to Warner Bros. For making this film happen. This would have been a risky move if released theatrically, but since it's on streaming, Snyder had the creative freedom to do what he wanted and make the film he wanted. As I've said multiple times, I feel like people forget the importance of the filmmaker nowadays. They are the driving force of the movie, and I truly appreciate a movie when you can feel the filmmaker trying to tell a story within that medium. But DC is doing the opposite. Instead of going the shared universe approach, they are focusing on showing the storyteller's vision on screen, even if it's not a part of that universe. They are putting emphasis on low budget, director driven films that tell a story. And I love that. I'm loving DC at the moment because they're taking risks and giving filmmakers the freedom to experiment and showcase their talent with these brilliant characters. The last three Marvel films played it extremely safe, which made them pretty forgettable, whereas DC is doing the exact opposite, and I'm here to support it, and you should too. I always want these superhero films to be less bland and studio driven, but visions of the filmmaker and storytellers, be it good or bad. I prefer a Man of Steel compared to Captain Marvel, let's say.
To me, it is the greatest comic book film of all time. Of course, that's all just subjective. Everyone's opinion is going to be different.
This film is Snyder's film. So much so that his name is literally in the title, and I love that. I hope all superhero films are director driven, and this is why I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. Thank you so much for watching.
I want to thank Detox with P-Talks for allowing me to share my little message. My name is Isaac, and I run the Isaac the Film Geek YouTube channel. In my channel, we talk about movies, movie news, and everything in the wonderful world of movies, so make sure you check out the channel.